When conditioning your mind for success, sometimes it's hard to break old habits and change everything at once. And that's where Kaizen and the law of attraction come in. Let's look at each of them in turn. Kaizen is Japanese for improvement. And when used in the business sense and applied to the workplace, Kaizen refers to activities that continuously improve all functions and involve all employees from the CEO to the assembly line workers. When used generally in your life, it can mean lots of little changes that add up to one very big change. It might mean breaking bad habits one step at a time, or achieving a main goal by achieving lots of little goals along the way. So let's say your goal is to quit smoking. Well, your first step will be to stop smoking cigarettes and start using patches and chewing nicotine gum. Then you gradually cut down the patches and finally you reduce the amount of gum. And each step along the way leads you closer to reaching your goal of quitting smoking and eliminating your addiction to nicotine. Another example would be learning to play a musical instrument. As you practice, you slowly get better and improve your performance. Now, Toyota, the car manufacturer and big Japanese conglomerate, have taken this to a whole new level. The Toyota production system is known for Kaizen, where all line personnel are expected to stop their moving production line in case of any abnormality and, along with their supervisor, suggest an improvement to resolve the abnormality, which may initiate a Kaizen. And they actually do this in a way that's also known as the Schuhart cycle, Deming cycle, or PDCA. And you start with plan. So you plan what you're going to do and you do it. Then you check it and then you act. That's the PDCA. Now, in between do and check, there's also another cycle that you go through. You start with problem finding, display, clear, and acknowledge. And this whole thing is a continuous loop, or two intersecting continuous loops. So as soon as you've completed the last step, which is act, immediately you're starting to plan again. So you're planning the next step. So plan, do, check, problem find, display, clear, acknowledge, act, and then plan and on to the next step. And the whole thing is a continuous cycle over and over and over again. So it's a continuous improvement with every step of the way. Now consider the law of attraction. This states that like attracts like, and if you act in a certain way, your life will change to match. When applied to health, the law of attraction states that worry, fear, stress, or other One of the things that all of us have to do in life at some point is to overcome obstacles. And it's how you approach the situations and how you devise strategies and tactics to overcome those obstacles and achieve success that separates people who are really successful from the also-rans in the rest of the community. When I was at school, one of my teachers had a poster on his classroom wall, and it said, "When life gives you lemons, make lemonade." And it took me a while to figure out what the poster was really saying, because, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Well, what if you don't like lemonade? But really, the message of the poster was that you need to make the best out of what you've got. You can't always have a smooth situation. Sometimes you might have some lemons. Well, you need to do something about that, and the way to do that is to make lemonade. And every obstacle can be turned into an opportunity. You just have to learn how to approach it differently to most people, and this takes creativity and perseverance. And in fact, some of the most successful people on the planet have had to overcome obstacles that would finish off most people. And often this involves thinking outside the box. Now, according to Wikipedia, thinking outside the box, also known as thinking out of the box or thinking beyond the box, and especially in Australia, thinking outside the square, is a metaphor that means to think differently, unconventionally, or from a new perspective. And this phrase often refers to novel or creative thinking. The term is thought to derive from management consultants in the 1970s and 1980s, challenging their clients to solve the 9 dots puzzle, whose solution requires some lateral thinking. Now, basically, as you can see on the screen here, you have a grid of 9 dots. And the goal of the puzzle is to link all 9 dots using 4 straight lines or fewer, without lifting the pen, and without tracing the same line more than once. So, how would you solve this puzzle? Pause the video now and give it a go. Did you have a try? Well, here's one solution, and you'll notice it involves thinking outside the box. The instructions say you've got to use 4 lines or less. They don't say that you can't go over the edge. Anyway, back to what I was saying earlier about successful people overcoming obstacles. Did you know, for example, that when Thomas Edison's laboratory and factory burned to the ground, he didn't do what most people would do and go, "Oh no, that's it, I'm finished." Instead, he saw the opportunity to rebuild and make it newer and better. And this enabled him to take advantage of new technologies, many of which he'd invented, and go on to make even greater discoveries. Bill Gates' first business went bust, so raising finance for his next venture must have been a real obstacle. You go to the bank manager and ask for a loan, and they want to know what your experience is in business, and you say, "Well, my first company went bankrupt with massive debts," and the bank manager will say, "Thank you very much," and show you out the door. So obviously it took a lot of ingenuity for him to actually find the money to start his new venture, to overcome that obstacle. And of course, the new venture was Microsoft, and it went on to make him a multi-billionaire. But for a lot of people, the fact that they've had one business and it's gone under, that is going to make them, a credit risk as far as conventional finance is concerned, and they won't be able to overcome that obstacle if they follow the conventional route. Oprah Winfrey got fired from her first job as a local TV station because the producer thought she was unfit for television, which is hardly a glowing reference, so she had another big obstacle to overcome when she tried to get another job at another TV station. And if you've ever been fired from a job, you'll know that it is actually very difficult to find another one in the same line of work when you can't get a reference and your previous boss thinks you weren't any good. James Dyson got fed up with his vacuum cleaner losing suction when the bag got full, but he went through over 5,000 prototypes before he perfected his bagless vacuum cleaner. Now, I could go on, but I think you get the picture. Now, sometimes brainstorming is the best way to come up with ideas and overcome obstacles. In a brainstorming session, a group of people get together and try to come up with as many ideas as possible. Everything, no matter how silly it might seem, gets written down. And actually, sometimes coming up with a silly idea that you know isn't going to be taken any further can spur other people in the room to come up with actually a really good idea because your silly idea gets them thinking. Now, all these ideas get whittled down to a few good ideas or solutions that are researched further, and the best idea is acted on or put into practice. And the best thing to do in a brainstorming session? You guessed it, think outside the box. In this video, I want to talk you through designing your ideal lifestyle. And this is something that so many people get the wrong way round. Now, all this comes down to lifestyle design. Well, what is lifestyle design? Well, basically, lifestyle design means choosing the job that will give you the lifestyle that you want. That means not assuming that your job needs to dictate your lifestyle. For example, if you want to build muscles and become very strong because weightlifting or bodybuilding is the most important thing in your life, you could get a job on a construction site. You'll get plenty of fresh air and exercise, and the constant lifting will build your muscles. The money tends to be pretty good, and you'll also save a fortune in gym memberships. If your main desire is to travel, you can get a job with an airline. Cabin crew jobs, especially on long-haul flights, give you the opportunity to travel to far-flung places. Airlines also offer subsidized or even free travel to ground-based employees, so a job in reservations, publicity, or even the accounts department could give you the opportunity to do a lot of traveling in your spare time. If flexibility is what you crave, then working online is probably for you. You can provide a service freelance, sell a digital product via your website or blog, run a drop shipping business on eBay, or a combination of all of them. You set your own hours, and you can even travel the world as a digital nomad. All you need is your laptop, a good Wi-Fi connection, and you're set to go. You can work from anywhere, anytime you please. The thing is, don't be afraid to be different. This may mean doing a manual job that lets you get fresh air and exercise. Or it might mean doing a job like rubbish collection that lets you work better hours. The problem people have with this is it's not what they're used to. Too often we feel like we need to live a certain lifestyle in order to live up to what's expected of us, or to be, in quotes, normal. And even if you'd be happier as a construction worker, you might go ahead and become an accountant to keep your family happy or to feel as though you're a success. And this is a mistake, and your happiness is what should always come first. Likewise, you shouldn't be afraid to be a little unusual. Maybe you want to combine careers in a way that's not particularly common and that onlookers would find strange, but that's fine, really. Don't be afraid to be the first. The fact that you're happy with the lifestyle that you're leading is really what matters. In this video, I want to talk you through how you can become more present and become more involved in things that are going around you and in everything that you do. Now, how can you do this? Well, one method is to start focusing on your body and on your senses a little more. The fact of the matter is that most of us are so in our own heads that we barely notice half of what's going on around us. We walk in a dream state worrying about work or about relationships, and we hardly take time to stop and smell the roses, either literally or metaphorically. So try this right now. Turn off any music that you're listening to and instead just start to notice the sounds around you. I mean, really, really listen. What can you hear? Well, chances are if there's a road somewhere near you, you're going to hear traffic noise. If you're listening to this at home or watching this at home, chances are you're going to hear noises from next door or perhaps from another room. You might hear people talking, music playing, somebody's TV set on, that sort of thing. All sort of subtle things in the background. If you're watching this at work, then you might hear other conversations going on in the room, other people talking, or in adjacent offices, or perhaps you're doing this in somewhere that manufactures stuff and you can hear the machines working. You can probably hear telephones ringing, or perhaps a photocopier whirring away if you're in an office, that sort of thing. You might even hear some sounds from the outside, like a road or a police car or an ambulance going by. That's the sort of thing that you might hear in the distance. And if you're outside, then you're going to hear all sorts of noises. You're going to hear birds singing. You might hear a dog barking. You might hear snippets of people's conversation as they're walking by. All sorts of different things that you're going to hear, which probably you tune out if you're thinking about something else as you're going through your life, through your daily routine. And likewise, you can probably smell a whole load of things that you hadn't noticed. And if you take the moment to feel your own body, then you can probably notice the sensation of the seat pushing into your legs and into your buttocks. Maybe you can feel the blood filling your face and making you feel hot. Or perhaps there's a wind blowing against you. Is it hot or cold? What direction is it coming from? Listen to the sounds of your own breathing too, and feel your abdomen expand and shrink as you do. And once you do this, you'll find that you stop worrying about what's going on around you and start to appreciate your environment a little more. There's so much that we normally miss. You can try doing this on walks too. Go for a walk with no music, no phone, and nothing else, and try just being present and noticing the world around you. It's calming and invigorating at the same time. Practicing being more present in conversation is important because eventually it'll become something that you can just engage in at will. Now you can choose when you want to start listening better to people and digest what they're really saying. You can listen to them rather than the monologue going on in your head. And again, you can leave your other concerns behind. Try focusing on the sensations of your body more the next time that you're being intimate with a sexual partner. You'll find that you instinctively know what to do next, and you'll start to be much more passionate and responsive. You'll become a better lover simply by getting out of your own head, and you'll feel it far more forcefully. This is true for everything else as well. Next time you have a bath or go for a swim, take a moment to really appreciate the warmth and the softness of the water against your skin. Next time you eat your breakfast on a weekend morning, remind yourself how much you enjoy that food and how happy you are not to be going to work that particular morning. And this is what so many of us don't do. So many of us walk around in a dream state worrying about other things. We actually miss what's going on around us. And being stressed and having no control over your mind is doubly problematic, because not only does it make us unhappy, but it also distracts us from the things that are going on all around us all the time that could be making us happier. And what it does for our relationships is also fantastic. Right now, being distracted could well be destroying your relationships with family and friends. Avoiding negativity is very important if you want to be successful, because being in a negative atmosphere can simply drain all of the energy out of you. And especially being around negative people can be absolutely soul destroying. Here in the UK, there's a comedian called Harry Enfield, and he does lots of different characters. And one of them is this guy who's incredibly negative and finds fault with everything and corrects everybody. And he has this sort of irritating little nasally voice, and he goes, "You don't want to do it like that," all the time. Whenever somebody does something, "Oh, you don't want to do it like that, you want to do it like this." And he does this over and over and over again. And I suppose we've all met people like this in our lives, and I'm sure Harry Enfield probably based him on a couple of people that he knew, perhaps, I don't know. But we've all met people like this, and they're just the sort of people that you have a strong urge to hit repeatedly with something heavy and blunt. And they probably go, "Oh, you don't want to hit me with a baseball bat. You want to use a bit of lead pipe." "All right, mate, if that's what you want, that's what we'll do." But, it just can be really, really irritating and really soul destroying, because they'll find something wrong or suggest an alternative with just about everything. So in this video, I'm going to give you 5 ways to avoid negative people, or more specifically, to avoid letting negative people drag you down into their pit of negativity. And way number 1 is to take responsibility. Stop being a victim of these negative people. Go from blaming, judging, and criticizing to assuming full responsibility for your own thoughts and feelings. When someone says, "You don't want to do it like that," well, actually, yes, I do, because if I didn't want to do it like that, I wouldn't be doing it, would I? So take a different approach to how you deal with their negativity, and don't respond in kind. Negativity feeds off itself. Way number 2 is to avoid complainers. Now, people who complain about everything will never enhance your life. They're not looking for solutions. They just want to do nothing and moan. In fact, if you offer a solution, they'll find something wrong with it. And if you point out an obvious solution, they won't thank you, because they actually enjoy being negative. So only deal with them if you absolutely have to. Way number 3 is to keep a positive outlook yourself. Like attracts like, and whether we like it or not, we attract into our lives people, events, and situations that mirror our internal state of mind. So, how do you feel on a regular basis? Are you feeling happy, excited, grateful, loving? Or are you feeling irritable, judgmental, negative, and frustrated? Keep those feelings in check. Way number 4 is don't overanalyze the situation. Negative people can sometimes behave irrationally, and you'll waste valuable time and energy if you try to make sense of all their actions. So do whatever you can to prevent yourself from becoming emotionally invested in their issues. Way number 5, let go of your own need to complain. Take responsibility for your own emotions and state of being. Don't go around complaining about how much other people's negativity is affecting you, because this will only create more negativity. Assume responsibility for your own thoughts and feelings and see what you can do to feel better, what you can do to change the current situation by changing your lenses, by changing your attitude, and by changing the way that you look at things. Finally, stop listening to that irrational voice in your own head that's constantly doing you down and telling you what you can't do. When you start taking a more positive attitude, you'll find that your life and mood will improve by the same proportions.